back once again, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very close to the end of this group. If you were with us for the end of our previous game, you will know the stakes coming up in this matchup. But let's remind everybody one more time of what exactly is on the line. It's Oxygen versus the Dire Wolves. Oxygen, they're safe. They're comfortable. They've got 9 points. There's no way any team can catch them. But as you can see, the Dire Wolves, they have an opportunity here to pass Team 1, knock them out of the tournament, and steal the second place seed going into the playoffs. But in order to accomplish that, due to the score difference between these two teams, it will need to be a regulation victory from the Dire Wolves. You guys at home may be thinking, oh, it's awesome. Oxygen's been flawless so far. They won every single game they've played in regulation. But keep in mind, like we said, they're already locked in. They have no further incentive to play out strategies they have not already revealed. They can just play into a default here, relax, play it very safely. And assuming that Dire Wolves are able to best them with that play style, they will take the spot. So Team 1 right now is praying that is not going to happen.
Yeah, there's two options for Oxygen. It's either go out there, have a good time, do what you've been doing at this LAN, try not to show too much more, or simply kick your legs up on the desk, plug the Xbox 360 controller in, and play that way, and just try and allow Dire Wolves to get one over on you instead, showing absolutely nothing. So we'll have to see what Oxygen have to think about this map, as well as where we'll be going here momentarily. But for Dire Wolves, it is indeed do or die. There is no chance that they win this via round differential. This has to be a regulation win so that they pass Team 1 in points.
In essence, Oxygen here kind of having a choice in terms of who they want to let go through.
Of playoffs.
Yeah, they can very much decide here with their own playstyle in this matchup whether they allow Team 1 to go through and then potentially have to face off against them later on in the tournament, or the same for the Dire Wolves. Could be a mistake, though, considering the massive increase to performance we have gotten out of the Dire Wolves just between day 1 and day 3 here. Already a massive increase from them. We saw it just in that previous match. Only really seeing Pegon pop off in their first game on day number 1, but today, everybody firing off on all cylinders. Harambe specifically with a massive improvement, and the same can be said for ED, Souffle, and some of the other members of this team too. But will it be enough to contend against Oxygen, who have seen to have been really on fire at this event, and yours especially, bringing a massive impact to the table?
Oh, thank you for bringing that up, because that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. Not only is he +7 on entry with a KPR of a 1.09, but he's got a 1.37 rating. And past that, for our North American fans at home, if you didn't know, we're actually holding the top 3 spots for players at the current moment. It's going to be a run back on Theme Park. Dire Wolves, as well as Oxygen, feeling this one out already. It was a 7-2 victory yet again for Dire Wolves' opposition, as Oxygen took that map. But if it happens to go down like we saw the previous one, then obviously Dire Wolves has a lot of potential to take this. But just really quick, we do indeed have those top 3 slots for players, because it's Newers into Iconic into DS Lucas for the top 3 players by rating currently at this LAN.
That's NA, baby.
NA the best. We didn't say that, though. Don't tell anyone.
Technically, DS doesn't count, but it's all good.
well, he's in NA for right now. Okay, so we'll claim him. It's okay.
It depends on if you
know
count.
what I mean?
If you count the team or the flag, that's the.
Yeah, it's
that's the way you got to weigh that one.
It's like what happened with CS when the era came in and all the Brazilians started coming up to the US and everything. Yeah, exactly. They're like, well, we're just gonna start making super teams. So screw it. And it's working for Xset, so it's working for us. That's how it
but
goes.
for me, the fact that this has gone back to Theme Park, basically Oxygen leaving the choice there between Cafe and Theme Park for the Dire Wolves at the end of it. The fact that they've allowed the Dire Wolves to go back to this one, for me, it plays into the point that maybe Oxygen are just gonna kind of like let this one slide by a little bit, not like a purpose or anything, but like we said, there's zero incentive for them to like seriously play themselves out on this matchup. They won't gain anything from it. They're already first seed. There's nothing else to be gained in the groups beyond that. If you want to play for like bragging rights of, oh, we had a perfect 4-0 regulation group, like, yeah, but like you're not gonna get anything for doing that. So what's the point? Like,
oh man, yeah, literally zero incentive. Your placement's not gonna change. You don't gain any more money. You don't get any more SI points. It's
obviously for Dire Wolves, it's the exact opposite.
Yes.
This match means literally everything for them. So
it's the most two-faced situation I've ever seen, let me tell you. But for Oxygen, they are already ready. And don't worry, Laxing and Vertical already have their pillows, so we're not going to have to wait an extended period of time for those. We made sure they were comfortable before we started getting people in the lobby, in which we will launch right now. The server's up. Theme Park is open, although not to the public, because we're about to have a lot of gunfights inside of it. It's time for some fun here on Theme.
I don't think the health department will really let this thing open, to be honest with you. Take a look at it. It's a little run down there. Might be
a little bit.
Maybe a few rats running around the place, but it's all good here, as it's perfectly fine for a war zone between these two teams. As they're going to get into it now, Dire Wolves fighting for their tournament lives. Oxygen just chilling in this matchup. So let's see who comes out on top of this one as the winner. We actually are going to interrupt this real quick. Folks, we did unfortunately have, I believe, a crash, so we're going to rehost this real quick.
Yep. Get the ones out of the way early on here, and then we'll be back into the game. But fortunately enough for us, it allows us a little bit more time to deep dive into what Oxygen have been up to recently, because this LAN has been one for the making for them.
I think their worst game was like a 7-4 in this group
Yes,
so far.
indeed, it was. And I mean, past that, just their stat lines alone, John. I mean, just look at what they've been able to accomplish. Newers with that 1.37, like we were talking about earlier. The lowest rated player on the entire team is a 0.97, and that's Dream. He's planting and doing all of the terrible jobs no one wants to do. And he's still almost positive. He's only -1, 20 and 21, and we've seen him have some fantastic clutch moments as well. 1-1-VX to his name, but also 5 plants to go along with that. So really securing the objectives for Oxygen, although it's really been the frag department that's popping off for them.
It's been a real quiet ascension here for Oxygen too, because I think for a lot of people they expected it, right? A lot of people really saw Oxygen play in the NAL, saw how they would perform coming into this LAN, and we're like, oh yeah, of course they're going to make it out of the group. But this much domination, even when considering their opponent's circumstances, of course, I'm not sure if anyone expected that. We're going to have to see, though, as we transition out of this group stage and move into the playoffs, how that performance will continue or potentially diminish for Oxygen, as that has been the tough point for them. Reaching that playoff stage, getting themselves past this quarter and semifinals is where they've struggled in the past. So that will be the true test of just how far this new roster can go in the 2022 season.
Well, getting some things figured out here, folks. Apologies for the delay, but once we get the Direwolves team member back in, we'll be ready to go and travel into Theme Park to see what we can potentially find between these two. But Direwolves, their last play against Oxygen on Theme Park yet again was definitely not a fair affair. It was a very, very hard-fought match for Oxygen as they take it 7-2. But past that, for the Direwolves, it was just not a fantastic showing in the slightest. And now, actually, so we get these stats up here. ED was the one to top off the scoreboard with a 0.97, 8 and 9, -1, as not a single Direwolves member was actually positive. Actually, ED the only one with any positive stats at all, a 78% cost and a KPR of a 0.89, but that doesn't really matter at the end of the day when you have Newers, Laxing, and Vertical all above what Vert had, which was a 1.32, Laxing a 1.56, and Newers a 1.75.
Yeah, so bit lopsided there, the favor of Oxygen for that matchup. But that was yesterday, and now we go into today's matchup here, where things have already looked quite different for the Direwolves, and almost certainly will be different for Oxygen's sake here. Once again, that is the big question that we've phrased about 7 or 8 times now, getting ourselves ready for this matchup, is what exactly were we going to see Oxygen bring to bear inside of this one? And we'll be finding out in just a few moments here. Once again, Laxing, one of the longest standing members of this squad. Him and 2 others, of course, make up the core of this team that has been around for so long. It's actually every other player on the desk right now.
Yes, indeed.
As you've got Laxing, Foxy in the middle, and of course Vert sitting over on the right. The 2 new additions sit in the middle, Newers and Dream. And they seem to be sticking together like glue, as I think, once again, this roster might be the one that they finally needed to click in a championship. And we'll be finding out if that indeed is true over the next 4 to 5 days here, as they're almost certainly will, I should say, going to be entering our playoff stage.
I mean, I'm completely down with that. I think that Oxygen has been a long time coming. They've always had a pretty incredible staff with Redeemer as one of their coaches, as well as Hopes. Redeemer, a long time Rainbow Six player, used to be a professional for Space Station Gaming. I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly off the top of my head as well, he was a part of the Most Wanted roster for a little bit. And he was just a real big Echo main, one of the original mainstays of that operator. And coming in as a coach has definitely influenced a lot of Oxygen's team play in the past, but that core that you were talking about of Vertical, Foxy, and Laxing have been together for so very long, and time again have come up just short of finding the success that they have so desperately wanted, especially for, well, that entire core. I mean, they're practically Lanimals. Every single time that we see them come to a tournament, they play lights out Siege, but just some things got to give, and that's usually what happens to them. It'll be a painstaking defeat for them on main stage, or they'll get right to the end of group stage and the rug will get ripped out from under them, and it just seems like there's really nothing they can do about it. I mean, I remember all the way back when they were on Reciprocity, and you and I casted their border game, and the yokai drone slides into archives and ends the entire game right there. Reciprocity can't do anything, and it simply comes down to something as small as a little drone with a sonar blast.
And unfortunately, it's not the only tournament where Oxygen had like a really unfortunate turn of events there, just like 1-2 things getting in the way that would have costed them. Let's remember back to the Sweden major a few months ago too. They go up to the event, their IGL unfortunately catches COVID right before it. So that event was like a misnomer for them. Didn't even when we went to SI, we didn't even consider their performance at the Sweden major because they really didn't have anything to play because that was thrust upon them so suddenly that they couldn't really course correct. They were relying so much on Fox to be the IGL for that event, and they recently switched to using him, so it was going to be way too much of a gargantuan task to suddenly switch that back up, especially having to play with their coach at the time too. So this time seems like everything has gone swimmingly so far. Fingers crossed on that. Oxygen looking to finally seal in that tournament for themselves. It could be here at Charlotte that they finally get it done. But they'll have to get past this match versus the Dire Wolves first. Not along the line for them, Oxygen that is, but for Dire Wolves, this means everything, and they will need the regulation victory to carry this forward. Yana, an interesting ban from the Dire Wolves, as we've seen Yana become very much the mainstay aggressive operator, replacing what would normally be like Ashe in some scenarios, Zofia to some extent too.
Rest in peace, Ashe.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's going to be very equivalent to that as she is banned out, and Vertical now calling that out. Hey.
Well, is anybody going to answer the guy? Is he? I guess they're just
I think they're probably like, hi.
I'm not talking to you.
They probably don't know what that means.
You're the enemy. I'm not discussing anything with you, sir.
Just a random hey. You can't really respond to that.
Yana banned out.
Context.
And honestly, I for just a split second there, with the amount of time Dire Wolves was thinking about that, I honestly thought they were contemplating a Thatcher ban. And I was about to be like, oh boys, no, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see a Mav Thatcher ban on Theme Park. It's like the anti-fun club of bans. But we're instead going to have the Yana Mav as well as Kaid and Mira removed from play, making a heck of a lot of sense, even in the Yana category. More than likely, all of you at home knowing just how potent that operator can be, not only with her Gemini and the unlimited information that you can get, since she never technically loses it, it just goes on cooldown, you have to use it later on. She also has frag grenades and that incredible ARX that we've seen just body so many people before. Dire Wolves already pulling out all of the stops. I don't know if they're going to stick this. We still have 30 seconds to go in the prep phase, but we did have a Glass locked in initially. Pekin's going to go over to the Zofia, but we do still have the Monty in play.
Monty will stick in. Dire Wolves going to bring a new flare to their attacking lineup. Not see that deployed at all from the previous map on board. A bit different though in terms of how you need to clear out this map. Much heavier roam presence, but it's looking like the Montaigne is actually not going to stick around. Really a full change-up here for the Dire Wolves lineup as the Gar hook will be brought out for Pecan once again. Zofia will be fragging in here for Jackie Wu instead of the Montaigne. And then finally Harambe as well, switching off of his initial pick and onto an ace to bring the hard bridge back in.
Well, Nuos will be working things out over on the Dragon balcony for the time being. He's got the Valkyrie, so he's going to have these cameras around to be able to assist him. Pekin also looking to go inside of break room, I do believe, as they'll try and time this appropriately. Wasn't even trying to stick the Zope. That ended up over on Jackie. Pekin initially looking at the Glass, switching to the Zope, and then eventually the Amaru, as this is looking to be a pretty spicy play. He's going to fly inside, and he's going to die pretty quickly as Dream is on Arcade balcony, and the drone simply skimpers in the window after Amaru, not really able to do much except get some vision. Dream's going to simply walk into the LMG of Jackie, though, and he's going to actually trade this out pretty evenly. Dream was the smoke, so if anything, you got to say, well, Oxygen, a little worse for wear given that situation.
Yeah, baits Pecan to get it done a little bit, but I guess the trade is somewhat successful here as they bring it down to a 4v4, and as you said, waste out all three of those toxic babes. No utility usage this time going to come in. Oh, what was that, though, from Vert? I thought he was dead to rights. Harambe sneaking right up behind him with a 180 shot from Vertical. He is too quick. He shuts it down instead, and Oxygen retake the player advantage.
Vert, you almost killed a caster. I had water in my mouth. I almost drowned. That was not okay, okay? And if you're starting off like that, then how are we going to end here? That's the real question. Dire Wolves with grenade in hand, specifically for Souffle, but it's eaten up by the Wamai disc instead. Pre-fires for the shield, but they've been stunted for growth, not able to actually get inside of the building, all except for ED, who works his way up the arcade stairs very quickly. Somebody stepping on a goo mine as well. ED constantly checking these angles. Still has one more EE1D, speaking of which, but hasn't used it just yet. Not feeling himself, but indeed actually has a suppressor on the end of his V308. Kind of some interesting interactions you can have with a suppressor in this game. It lowers your damage, but it actually removes the fire trail, like the little trail that comes after your bullet, the bullet trail rather, as I build myself up for that. Either way, though, it gets rid of those, so you can spam walls and stuff like that a little bit easier without people knowing exactly where you're shooting from. That's something that Echo's really, really good at on defense. We've seen multitude of different times, but now for ED as well as Direwolves, they have to spring too. Oxygen know that the plant's going down. They're going to try and swing through, and Newers gets caught completely off guard. He sprints into the room, and that's going to put his gun down by his waist. Doesn't have the potential to try and take out the Direwolves member, and now Oxygen have simply let Direwolves into the site.
Vertical continuing to move himself forward, but he's going to be found out in the middle of the ocean, essentially, here, as he goes down. Won't be confirmed just yet, but that's not really going to be of too much consequence. Laxing alone on an island himself here in the 1v3. Spots out the position there from Jackie Wu, but he's still going to win the fight. And the Direwolves get themselves onto solid footing here for round number 1. Just 6 more to go. They will lock in their playoff spot.
I don't want to say anything just yet about Oxygen's decisions, but it does kind of seem as though they've slowed down their play and have allowed Direwolves to start working their way in. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's no way that they just allowed Direwolves to walk into initiation. That was indeed a decision made by them, more than likely.
I think what I said at the beginning of the game is fairly accurate here. Oxygen are chilling in this game right
They're
now.
big vibing.
Yeah, this is like a scrim for them at the moment.
Yeah, especially with the way that Dream just challenges the window. You're never going to have your smoke really do that in that instance, especially for Dream. Like, he's very calculated about what he does on the defensive end. But it sounds like we're going to end up having a... oh, actually cancel that. We saved it right there at the tail end, didn't we? So don't have to actually worry about anything to do with this game being reset. So actually going to look into it quickly. Should be okay. We still got the game up on our end, but actually, as soon as I say that, we will indeed have a rehost. So apologize about that little bait back and forth there for a split second, folks, but the tech timeout will come in, and we're going to have to get this fixed by the admins pretty quickly.
It looks like our attackers did have a slight drone bug, so we're just going to rehost once again, folks, and get ourselves back into it. Either way, a good start to things for the Direwolves. Don't want them getting tripped up by those sorts of issues, so we will, of course, letting them get themselves back in and just resetting that round real quick to make sure that we keep the fair level of play inside of the game here. Away from that, though, once again, Oxygen definitely going to want to brace themselves a bit better for some of those early gunfights, as we were seeing, with the exception of Vertical. A lot of those entries just going surprisingly kind of into the hands of our members on Direwolves here, somewhat to a ridiculous extent, as you saw the initiation run in there. 2 players ready to defend it seemingly, but just not enough presence still to fend off that entry work there. Working out so well for the Direwolves, just knocking out these members of OXG101. Even the trade over at the arcade balcony was a little weird there too. Felt like Dream was going to be able to maintain that corner positioning, but just lost too much of the soft breach potential there. So felt like he was forced out into the open, but into the waiting arm still that player on rappel, even though he had just taken down the Amaru that had hopped in a few seconds prior. I believe we're going to restart the game, folks, so we're going to jump back into it here in a second once we confirm that there's no additional issues when we're back in the game.
Yep. Only seen one round so far. It was initiation defense that Oxygen allowed Direwolves to really just walk into the site and get the plant down. Newers tries to challenge for it, but the Overwatch solid from the Zofia and claims him instead. And past that, really difficult for them to try and work into that area with how many guns were designated to the door of security. But now Direwolves more than likely happy about procuring that round. Oxygen probably going back to the drawing board and seeing what they can try and use for their next site choice. Don't believe they'll be going back to initiation. It'll more than likely be one of the other myriad of sites, whether it be Armory or what have you. We'll just have to see.
All right, well, here we go. Once again, back into the fold here. As the Direwolves get themselves off to a booming start, should be brimming with confidence now after the way that the round played out too. They know that this is not necessarily going to be the toughest when it comes to things like early clears and whatnot. Just have to watch out more for the individual skill of the members of Oxygen more than anything, based on the way that we saw that first round play out. But things could change here fairly quickly, as Oxygen is going to shift their sight. Won't be going for the second floor attempt yet again. Instead, it's back down on the first floor here. We'll go for one of the most bunkery sites in Siege right now.
Indeed.
The Armory and Throne Room, by far the least just kind of default access that the attackers have to the site. There's only like those 2 to 3 walls that'll be reinforced, and the hatches. That is it, and the doorways too, of course.
Well, as I push my fake glasses up the bridge of my nose, there's actually 6 walls inside of the site,
Well,
John.
three
because you
sets
need
of walls,
6 reinforcements. I'm just messing with
Yeah,
you.
I mean sets of walls.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Technically, that is still one continuous wall, so...
yeah, well, you need 2 panels to get it done, and that's how we count in Siege.
The sentence wasn't entirely incorrect.
All right. Okay, now you sound like the government, all right? Well, I wasn't technically wrong. Well, you weren't technically right either. Like, come on, man. Triple ADS will be applied here just to try and keep the wall, or rather the people playing around throne safe. That's really what this is for. You know, the angles there might be a little harsh for Oxygen if they're able to get that to bounce right. I'm feeling a little weird about the positioning there, but they're pro players. They know what they're doing. Obviously, the vertical look going down, not vertical player, but actually looking down on top of them is always going to give you kind of a weird side-eye view. So they'll more than likely catch anything being thrown in there, but definitely something to keep your eye on if that mute jammer does end up getting popped really early.
The other important thing to note, too, is the top-down positions against this site are fairly minimal, if non-existent, for the attackers, which is a big far cry from a lot of our downstairs sites we tend to get on other maps and even inside of this very map itself. So, an extra challenge for the attackers here to try and work their way into it. And they're going to bring the Monte to bear this time, for those who haven't already seen that big silhouette in the back or managed to catch it earlier on the right side. Norwich will certainly see it, so he is going to fall back towards the arcade side of the map here. The challenge is a little bit too much for him to deal with, so he's going to support, I believe it should be Vertical playing over here towards Cafe.
It absolutely is. Those two will be on an extended hold as of right now, but they're going to back towards Arcade, at least for Newer's sake. They're on the stairwell, just simply waiting for somebody to try and jump in the window, but both of them have abandoned this at the 2-minute mark. Pretty early for a traditional roam, but also have yet another member up here that we didn't initially see, one inside a break. I do believe that's Fox A still. Yes, indeed. We saw him make some shotgun holes up top, but I just assumed that he went back downstairs, to be honest with you, but clearly not. He's actually still sticking around this space, but the good news for him is that Arcade balcony is right outside, so he can just jump down and get back into sight at a moment's notice. Jackie Wu will continue to push forward here. So clearing out the area, but as we can see via the silhouettes, there's not a single person home on the top floor at the current moment.
Jackie Wu just hunting here as he works his way forward, making sure that there was no additional players from Oxygen left unchecked here on the second floor hold. And they will confirm that with the EE1D charge coming out from ED now. Wow, that's a that's a mouthful there on that player.
When I had to say it last round, I was like, whoa, tongue twister.
Yeah, that'll mess you up. So hopefully we'll want to worry about that for future rounds, but either way, we can see the Direwolves bracing themselves, get closer to the site, finding a lineup against Newers, but unable to get the winning shot. ED just gets a bullet or two off on Newers there, bringing him down to about 80 HP. Not the end of the world, and unfortunately for the Direwolves, they seem to be a bit stuck, even with that hatch open. They have not found the direct path into this site, and more importantly, they have not cleared out the extended position over here towards Lab. Also, the Montaigne sending them back. They are going to notice Vertical's position here, so we'll probably stop at the kitchen doorway, but Newers, he's going to be able to catch the case as he falls further back now, with a second kill for Oxygen inside of this round, besides the connector.
Direwolves are trying to fend off the entire lab setup here, but it's too strong from Oxygen. A multitude of bodies, but now Souffle is in, can't get the second one. Jackie Wu has to try and pick up the pieces. Jackie Wu will beat Vertical down into this 2v3 situation. It's 15 seconds remain as the case will get picked up by the Monty. He's definitely going to need some assistance from ED in this V3 if he can get this swing to go. No more EDDs in his pocket, though, as he'll be able to flip around, potentially pick up the last kill, but Dream will swing in. It's rather Fox A. It was Dream to down the other one. Some nice shots there from ED, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, one attempt from ED, the 180, giving us vibes from Vertical on the very first round right there with how he flicks into that shot. Unfortunately, a little too slow to save his teammate's life, loses the Montaigne, loses his massive wall of safety that he could have used to potentially take down Dream in those final 5 seconds too. So Oxygen fire back. They lock down their first round here inside of the throne room. Will now move back upstairs to their original site in Bunk and Daycare to try and control things on their third round.
Oxygen have been able to tie things up. They're going to go to another new site this time around, and well, for Dream, we'll be back onto the smoke yet again. Vertical will be grabbing the Wamai. Newer's back onto the Valkyrie past the Vigil that we saw the last time around. Also the impacts here to be able to try and connect some things. No nitro cells, actually, funny enough for him. We're going to have the Glaz attempting to be worked back in from Direwolves, but we haven't seen them secure it in the last 2 rounds, so I wouldn't think too much on that just yet until we get into the round, but ED is still going to be rocking the EDTs, John, so we're going to continue to have fun with that.
That's certainly the case. The EE1D will still be used quite a bit by the player known as ED here. Get ourselves into it once again. Oh, looks like actually never mind. We do have another drone bug, unfortunately, so we do need to rehost it one more time, folks. Apologies for that. We are trying to make sure we get these rehosts done as quickly as possible. We do also want to make sure that our players are playing in a fair competitive environment. Don't want them going live with these bugs and potentially a lapse of info due to not being able to utilize their drones properly. So we're going to head out of game here for just another few minutes.
Stick with us, folks. The good thing, though, is that this is going to give you enough time to run to the kitchen, get yourself another drink, go to the bathroom, do whatever you got to do. But as of right now, we're going to get this remade, and we'll keep you updated as to how long that's going to take. The good news is it's only going to take a handful of seconds, really. You know, it's only been 2 rounds that have been played out. It's extremely straightforward for the observer to reset, and we already have 4 players from each team inside the lobby. So just stick with us here on the A stream whilst we get this technical pause finished.
The other piece of good news too, you kind of saw the players are getting a little flustered by this too for Oxygen side when they hopped out of the game. So they're not going to waste any time here. They're going to be hopping right back into the server here. They won't waste any time making sure that they get themselves back into the fray. So we will get this started as quickly as possible for you guys. But Oxygen getting themselves on good footing, much better control over all parts of the round on that second play right there. Just kind of Neuro specifically able to leash his opponents back with relative control the entire time, is able to fall away from his initial positioning as there was just a little bit too much thrown against him with the Montaigne in play. Got himself down into that connector, though, where he was able to make his first impact with the case being thrown out against him from the bathroom and then carried it forward from there, making sure that he held on with the rest of his teammates in the site, too. Much smarter play from OXG, not taking as many risks that time and looking a lot better as they now equalize things 1-1.
I can't really say the same for Direwolves, though. They try really hard to push everyone back into lab via drug, and it just does not work out. And it was really unfortunate for them, but past that, it's all the Oxygen show for that, as they have some pretty fantastic team play to work things out. Although the Monty definitely having a hand in some of those frags, it really didn't matter at the end of the day, as it came down to the 3v2, inevitably went the way of Oxygen off the last swing. Moments away from getting back into the match now, folks. We've got the lobby full, and we are just awaiting the launch of the game.
Yep, just a few more seconds here, guys, and then we should be good to resume play on our 3rd round. Hopefully we don't need to do it again on our 4th, but just keep your fingers crossed at home. Give us a little bit of extra luck there, and maybe we'll make ourselves out of it. But it looks like we are good to go. And once again, the Direwolves, certainly not going to be doing them any favors hopping out of game this much, too, psyching them out from time to time. They know how important this matchup is and just how kind of awkward it is, as it's very much the opposite circumstance on the other side of the game for them right now. So for the Direwolves, things continuing to be stressful for them here as they look to take the lead away now that they have seen Oxygen still can fight under these circumstances here and take a few rounds away from them.
Well, they got to make it fun, right? That's,
yeah,
that's a big thing. Yeah,
right?
can't make it a 7-0. I mean, no one has fun with a 7-0.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to definitely need a spirit bomb here, folks, for the Bugs. So we need to, apparently neither side can pick operators, so, but I think it might be because it's paused. I
don't think so, because they were yelling for pause when the timer was ticking down, and we didn't have anyone picked either, so. All right, guys.
Unfortunate.
We're going to try this one more time.
All right, ladies and gents, we're going to need your energy for this one. Put your hands to the sky. Give us your energy to Charlotte, North Carolina, as we try and build up the biggest spirit bomb that's ever been built. Goku has nothing on us, as we're going to try and get this server launched here yet again.
I think Foxy and Ners
at this point, actually, we might as well just take Sua and put him on the desk.
Actually praying for a second there. We saw them both like looking up, like, please.
I mean, oh my gosh. We actually, funny enough, we literally have Sua standing over here right next to the monitors, and at this point, we might as well just have Sua on the broadcast, because we really have nothing else to say. We've had 2 rounds. Hold on, 1 second. John, just talk. Just
okay.
Sua, you got anything to say?
He's doing a pseudo Sua interview.
Sua's got nothing to say. Fox A head and hands. He's trying to figure it out too. I love, by the way, production. Thank you for the fade on everybody's faces. This is absolutely fantastic. This is so beautiful. Just fading in and out of everyone's faces, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But luckily enough, we've at least been able to make it through 2 rounds. So fortunately, once we get back into this, we'll hopefully be able to just work our way through. We love you too, Sua. Go do stuff, man. I'm sure that everybody at home still loves you as well. Now our AIM Labs friend used to be the analyst for G2 when they were lifting hammers. Now we stole Pengu away, and unfortunately enough, he has to cast with Parker, which probably really sucks for him. But I have blue, so my life's good. That's kind of his own, fault. Either way, though, Oxygen are ready here as we continue to delay. Sorry about that, folks. I really do wish we had more stuff to talk about, but John and I are kind of at our wits' end here. So
we are going to make sure we don't bait you guys again, though. We'll
Indeed.
actually make sure that everything is confirmed before we do go back in game. So we'll keep you guys out here chatting with us, looking at the players until we have absolute confirmation that we are indeed starting the rounds. All right, so you can see Fox channeling his energy there among his teammates to make sure that it works this time. Let's find out if it's going to be the case, as once again, these players sitting at the bitter end of their group. This is it, the last match for both of them here. Then they get to chill out for the next 24 to 36 hours or so while they get prepared for their playoff match, or for the Direwolves potentially, unfortunately, get prepared to go home if this match does not end up going in their favor. As a reminder, they do need to win this, as I'm sure a few viewers have joined us since we started the game. They do need to win this in regulation in order to make it to the playoffs. Even an overtime victory is not going to be enough, because that is only going to tie the total with the team above them, Team 1, and because we are using round differential as our tiebreaker here, not using head-to-head matchups, that will give the spot to Team 1 regardless of the score.
Well, I can tell you this. Oxygen, if you end up being the team that is the death knell for Direwolves, and specifically Harambe, Rainbow Six will never forgive you. Ever. I'm sorry.
Here's the problem. They're going to tick off one region regardless of how this goes, right? If they win this game, then what's going to end up happening is, okay, now LATAM's going to get mad, or sorry, if Direwolves win this game, LATAM's going to get mad. They'll be like, why didn't you try harder? Why didn't you give more effort into this game here? But obviously it's the opposite. If we end up seeing Oxygen, we're like, man, what'd you even try for? Like this game meant nothing to use.
Yeah.
Oxygen's going to be the villain here, no matter which way this goes, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And well, it's another technical pause, John. Fifth time's the charm. Fifth time's the charm. Apparently there was a mouse thing that was going on, so they're going to try and get that fixed up. But, I mean, I guess the good news was initially that we got more Foxay time, because you know Twitch chat, Foxay hot, right? But like he's got his head down. But the good news is
apparently we should mention this. Apparently Foxay is not feeling well at the moment, so that explains why he's doing that there.
Oh, I'm sorry, my friend. Well, hopefully he can use that day off tomorrow to get feeling a little bit better. That's the big thing about travel
for
as well.
still being here, still bringing it high spirits, keeping himself in the game. That's what we really care about, I think, at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely the case. Laxing yawning a little bit earlier, maybe just a little bit tired for him, because it's been some hard-fought days for Oxygen. Absolutely. It's still difficult, even in a group with only 3 teams, to secure all of those dubs. Make sure you have those 9 points and do it in a pretty convincing way. So a lot of hard effort put in over the last couple of days. That is pretty hard for them. But now, as we're getting things launched on our end, folks, we will absolutely confirm things. We will get into the round. We'll do the whole 9 before we get this back onto your screen. We want to know what's going on here. This has been probably some of the most unfortunate circumstances that we've seen in quite some times. Just a bad run of luck. So we'll get it confirmed, and then we will be right back into sight, or right back into game.
We could see the members of Direwolves are literally praying right now. I just wanted to point that out. He's like,
I love this. I love everything that's happening with this.
There's so much. Everybody's just channeling everything they have into this.
Hands to the sky, John. Put your hands up. Everybody.
I'll do it.
Yeah, prayer hands in chat right now. Everybody put your hands together. Oh, hold on, please.
Wait, oh,
don't
no, I don't
you
like
dare
that.
tell me.
I don't like what.
Don't you dare tell me. Stop it. Dude, why didn't Parker and Pengu get this game? I'm just kidding.
All right, well, yeah, guys, we're still working on it, folks. And again, we do extend our sincerest apologies here to both the teams as well as the viewers at home. I know you guys want to get into this match. We want to get into it. The players want to get into it too. We are working as diligently and as quickly as we can to get ourselves back into this one. We're just getting really unlucky right now with the rehost at the moment, as we keep running into this bug every time we jump back in. So once more, we do extend our sincerest apologies for the delay of game, and we will be resuming it as quickly as we reasonably can.
Yeah, if you think you're flustered, just think about our observer that's had to reset this lobby 5 times.
The players too.
Yeah, same as well,
Just kind of you're getting your energy pumped up to go back in game. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I think we actually are going to do a little bit more of an extensive reset here just to make sure we try everything we possibly can to get this game going. So I think we're going to go to a fairly quick break. We'll make sure we're back in game. And when we do return, we'll be continuing on. It'll be round 3 inside of this matchup between the Dire Wolves and Oxygen. So stick with us. We'll be returning with more action in just a few minutes. Okay.
falling again. Scared to fall in love again. Closer than I've ever been. Trying ways to let you in, but I'm scared to fall in love again. Scared to fall in love again. Closer than I've ever been. Trying ways to let you in, but I'm scared to fall in love again. Scared to fall in love again.
Tell me if it's funny, disappear, honey. When will you come me or call me? Cause I have for you a great surprise. Oh, you have something in your eyes of power. And I can't deny I love it. There are no limits for us, so we can't understand now. When I think about it, make it feel so high. Make it feel so high. Make it feel so high, you never know why.
Feel so high, make it feel so high, you never know why. Feel so high, make it feel so high, you never know why. Once again. Feel so high, you never know why.
Something in your eyes of power. And I can't deny I love it. There are no limits for us, so I can't understand now. Baby, don't think about it. Make it feel so high. Make it feel so high. Make it feel so high. You never know why.
Feel so high, make it feel so high, you never know why. Feel so high, make it feel so high, you never know why. Once again. Feel so high, you never know why.
gentlemen, we are bringing it back finally, once again. Our sincerest apologies for the delay of game. It appears that we have the issue fixed for the time being, so we are back in game now. The scoreline being 1-1. Okay. All right. I apologize once more, ladies and gentlemen. It appears as though that is not the case. It looks like we've had a player client crash out on us. So once more, I will extend the apologies from the entire team here at Charlotte once again that we are not able to continue with the play immediately. I know we just came back to you guys. Once again, it looks like a player just had dropped out there. So definitely not going to continue the round under those circumstances. Once again, competitive integrity is the #1 priority under this situation, so we do not want to force any unfair conditions on either team. We want to fix this, make sure it is working entirely. So that is why this is taking longer than expected. So bear with us, ladies and gentlemen, and we will once again be back in game as soon as we reasonably can be. We ask you once more to bear with us here for a few more minutes. And once again, this matchup has a lot of competitive contention behind it, especially for the Direwolves. Oxygen, not so much. If any of you did not catch our speeches earlier, we've been talking about, again, they've got 9 points. They're, I think, double, if not more than that. The next team down is, I think, Team 1 is 4 right now, so yeah, more than double of what they have. So there's no chance, obviously, for Team 1 or the Direwolves under those circumstances to catch them. They are safe. They are first seed in their group. There is no changing that. But for Direwolves, if they can win this game inside of regulation, they will be taking Team 1 spot in the playoffs, and that will be a very unfortunate turn of events for the Latin American region, but APAC will certainly be happy about it, so we'll have to see if that can come to bear over the next few minutes here.
Yeah, fortunately enough, Liquid did end up winning their game. I just wanted to give it a couple of seconds there. 7-1 up against Furia. So LATAM does indeed have a representative inside of the main stage, which is awesome. So we're going to try and get this thing going again, folks. We'll keep you updated as to what the situation is going to be. But past that, the Direwolves coming off of a big dub up against Team 1, whose fate now hangs in the balance, and it's not in their control. It's all hindering on the success of Oxygen inside of this matchup, which Oxygen found their mark yesterday against Direwolves, where they ended up going 7-2 on Theme Park in a pretty convincing fashion. So for Direwolves, though, it's been a hard-fought day. Ended up taking T1 to maximum OT on border and winning it 8-7 to finally get here where they have to secure a regulation victory in order to guarantee themselves the playoff stage.
You can see it, despite the circumstances, Direwolves are in good straits right now, seem to be in good spirits, as kind of laughing about this more than anything at this point, just making sure they keep themselves psyched
We're
and ready to
praying
play.
now. I don't know what
Vertical.
Siege God we pissed off today, by the way.
Channeling everything he's got right now. Just got, what was it, the Spirit Bomb earlier?
Yeah.
I'm not a big watcher of Dragon Ball, but he's channeling one of those up right now, trying to see if we can maybe, just maybe, get this thing going one more time. And more importantly, if he can frag it, get some more 180s like we saw back in round number 1-2, that was a booming shot from him, and we definitely want to see more of that. We need to get ourselves back in game first to accomplish that. Once again, folks, still working on it once more. So it's going to take a few more attempts here. We are looking into it as deeply as we can, trying so many different solutions. But unfortunately, it seems like, once again, we have failed to get ourselves back in game. So, once more, and I apologize for bringing us back for no reason, ultimately, but we are going to go towards another break here while we diligently work on fixing this. Once more, we want the most competitive environment possible for both of these teams, so we're going to fix this. We do need a little bit more time to solve it. Stick with us, ladies and gentlemen, for just a few more minutes, and we'll be back with the resummation of this game.
to fall in love again. Scared to fall in love again. Closer than I've ever been. Trying ways to let you in, but I'm scared to fall in love again. Scared to fall in love again. Closer than I've ever been. Trying ways to let you in, but I'm scared to fall in love again. Scared to fall in love again.
Tell me if it's funny. Disappear, honey. When will you come me or call me? 'Cause I have for you a great surprise. Oh, you have something in your eyes of power. And I can't deny I love it. There are no limits for us, so we can't understand now. Baby, don't think about it. Make it feel so high. Make it feel so high. Make it feel so high. You never know why.
Feel so high. Make it feel so high. You never know why. Feel so high.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a round. We are back into it finally. Once more, one final apology from the entire crew here at Charlotte, but we are back now in game and live with the round, and we are deep enough into it to where there's no stopping it at this point. So let's get into it now. The Direwolves back on the attack, Oxygen on the defense. For those of you who weren't here before, this matchup is currently 1-1 with the Direwolves walking through the initial upstairs setup from Oxygen, but Oxygen changing sites to throne room and quickly bouncing it back to a 1-1 scoreline, leaving us here now in the third round.
Direwolves have to win this inside of regulation to guarantee themselves a spot inside of our playoff stage. As for Oxygen, they're currently at 9 points and ahead of both of the other teams inside of their group by such a margin that there is no capability for any of them to take that away from them. Oxygen will top out Group A no matter what happens inside of this matchup or this round. But now, past that, past the long wait, apologies about that again, folks, we are here and we are ready to see the conclusion of Theme Park. Still have a decent road ahead of us here. A lot of action to still be seen as we get into it here. About a minute and 15 seconds through, we've got the shield play back out from Jackie Wu on the Monty. Almost gets taken out by the M590 there, but luckily the pellets aren't going to eat him up too much. Just a little graze onto his shoulder and he'll stay alive.
Jackie Wu trying to pop in some shots there before they hop back over the barricade. And speaking of barricades, there's going to be a new one popping back up to reinforce that wall now that our roaming player from Oxygen has been able to successfully fall back. Jackie's kind of done with this upstairs roam too, so he's going to rotate away from that into a better position to play out, heading up to the roof first, and more than likely, I believe, going to try to lean himself over towards Cafe side, but we'll see a confirmation of that over the next 30 seconds or so here, so he'll still be moving around. Away from that, though, Direwolves continuing to take internal map control. You can see 3 additional members still trying to push their way through either the main mid-white hallway here in ED's case, with 2 others taking the previous Montaigne spot back over towards Cash.
Now with a minute remaining, Direwolves have got to work their way into sight. Jackie Wu off on an island by himself. Really no support from the other Direwolves members as they're going to begin breaking up the office wall for the top of yellow. Souffle has worked his way inside of the vault and can initially try and rotate across if he so chooses. Jackie Wu just trying to circumnavigate the actual cafeteria area right now. Some flashes in from ED and eventually an EE1D more than likely coming through. Peekin will get flashed out. He's going to swing, but it's going to be Dream to take him out. Souffle will get one of his own as ED will falter, but Souffle battles back yet again. It's the SMG-11 show, though, for the defenses. They'll equalize. Is it 3 versus 3? The Monty's still up, and some good info coming back and forth. Harambe to be taken down. It's all left up to Souffle to try and win this out. But what a shot from Newers! The mechanical ability of these Oxygen players being showed off yet again here. And we finally have our third round concluded. You can see just how happy Fox 8 is to have the game going again.
Everybody's like, yes, we got through it. So Oxygen is going to take that first round of play.
I'm saying knock on as much wood as you can find.
Yep,
just start,
pretty much.
Cross your fingers, avoid ladders, don't look in the mirror, just don't touch anything.
Don't
Don't
black
move.
cat, put it in the other room.
Nobody move. Nobody touch a thing, okay? Just give us a second here. we want to make sure that this works. I can't have a single person move an inch at home right now. And I think
I'll jinx it.
you
think nothing.
I think nothing at all. Yes, you're right, John.
You think about casting. That's what you think about.
John, I don't even think about casting. I think about nothing. I'm like Kirby. I'm just a ball. That's all. I'm simply nothing. I just am. Xset's skin note is available in the store if you guys want to go pick that up for the R4C, as well as Oxygen and Direwolf skins as well. We have a multitude of other esports skins that will be added at a later date. You guys will see those at this event. They're pretty cool, though. So eventually those will be shown to you guys. But there's so many beautiful skins inside of that shop, and they directly support any of the esports teams that you give a damn about. And, well, for my sake, I've spent way too much money on them. I've probably paid some salaries at this point, but for you at home, there's plenty of them. And in my personal opinion, they're some of the best skins, not only in Siege, but in a multitude of FPSs.
All right, so once again, the round has gone off without a hitch here, so getting things started. Oxygen now with control over the matchup, currently at a 2-1 scoreline. Direwolves looking to make up the difference, but they're going to have a hard time doing that with Nurs making a successful hop out to take down ED and eliminate the sledge before he can make any impact whatsoever. The nade's gone. That's an entire set eliminated. Still 4 others, of course, or actually, no, only 2 others to be brought in now with the death of ED. Away from that, you're going to be missing that sledge capability just in terms of the top-down breaches that could be made too. Won't be missing that to a huge degree here, thankfully, since we're on a second floor hold, but still could have helped to clear things out a little bit inside of the mid-round.
Well, vertical Some challenge, but doesn't find too much inside of Cafeteria. Harambe making the cross here from the break window. A pretty cheeky angle that we see time and time again here, but Dream obviously having the info on that as he's back to the basics, playing on the arcade balcony where he was on the first round where we saw the Amaru swing in with the Gara hook and Dream eventually take him down, which was inevitably traded by another player on the window. Now for Dire Wolves, though, they've slowed up after losing ED. They're looking to see what their next strike could potentially be. Foxay will be at the top floor, trying to stay low-key for the time being. Has to move towards Arcade, but still has to worry about Souffle with some grenades. He's going to bounce towards Dream, but he's going to be able to stay alive. Another smoke down to hold down Arcade stairs. Challenges back in towards Break, but this has been a pretty cool, calm, and collected defense thus far.
Dream continuing to wait out this play from the Dire Wolves here. He will deploy himself onto that rappel here. Dream at the same time sits at the other end of it, waiting for a potential swing in, waiting to capitalize. I think the player for Dire Wolves, this is on that corner position there. They got to kill at the opening of this matchup, but it's not going to be the case here. Oxygen just shutting it down initially. 3 kills. Oh, wow. Now 5 kills going in their direction, and we don't even get to see them all. They happen so quickly. Oxygen absolutely run over the attack from the Dire Wolves there and have an easy time picking up yet another round.
Super unfortunate for Dire Wolves at the moment as Oxygen begins running amok of things. 2 quick rounds for them and a 3-1 lead on the defensive end. Theme Park usually leaning into the defense a little bit, but it has changed within recent history. It started to become more team dependent and really what's been happening inside of the match between the two. But as of right now, Dire Wolves, they simply can't get anything done on this offense, especially inside of the last round. It was all just falter after blunder, and they inevitably get flawless by OXG. They're going to shift gears and head back towards Armory and Throne Room to see if they can claim this site yet again.
Attempt to do that. We'll see some slight change-ups here for the Dire Wolves, mainly just in their hard breach department. Harambe is going to move from the Ace over to the Thermite instead. Montaigne will be brought forward instead of a Finca, interestingly enough, as ED is going to keep the Lion in check. And on top of that, we will see a Zofia added to kind of make up for the difference here. Add a little bit more. Actually, never mind. Back over to the Twitch here, as it's actively changing as this prep phase continues onwards here, making sure they have the appropriate amount of utility and, more importantly, fragging power, with Jackie switching away from the Finca there. Pecan going back over onto the Twitch is definitely going to help out with that a little bit, not only in terms of what the Twitch drones can offer, but arguably more importantly, that F2 gun style, adding a bit more prowess in the aggressive department here for Dire Wolves.
Well, for Dire Wolves, we're hoping for a slower opener, aren't we, John? We don't want to see them try and falter here in the first couple of minutes. Don't really want to see an opening pick from Oxygen in such a convincing way. Hopefully Dire Wolves can potentially strike. It's a Nitro Cell out for Newers and only a lick of damage done to Jackie. He is on the Monty yet again here. It's going to assist them with taking control of Cash and giving them a good read on what Newers' capabilities are. So Crossfire here as the Monty will simply disengage the shield, apply the pistol, but won't be able to tag the Valkyrie as he skippers off.
Jackie now ready to move himself in through the cash room first off. As the team still a little bit more behind that as we continue to see Dire Wolves take a much more measured approach to things, but despite that, Laxing allowed to get away with one yet again from the inside of Billiards, masking his position in the corner, apparently either misdroned or not droned at all, and he gets the opening kill again.
Is that not the most Laxing thing you've ever seen in your life?
I mean, that's just him.
Some random drone off in the corner that didn't see Laxing, a guy hops in the window, dives to Laxing. It's as bread and butter as anything. And the most hilarious and also crazy thing about it is that's how Laxing has played the game for years, and still to this day, no one can stop him from playing like this. So now with that being said, peeking down and Oxygen looking to take yet another round if any of the previous rounds have anything to say about round 5. Harambe will be droning out split as of now. ED trying to get rid of a Valkyrie cam, and he is successful. Dire Wolves still need to get quite a bit done. They're going to need this hard breach from Harambe to start pushing themselves toward an actual site execute. Everything's still reinforced for the current moment, making it quite difficult for them to bear down on the members of Oxygen in sight. They still have to worry about all of the members over here inside of Drug and everything else, but yet again another problematic issue. The Monty's going to slide up and down, and oh, it's not going to be the melee kill. Instead, it's going to be Vert and Laxing both going down. ED hopping to at the proper moment. We'll be able to trade that out, and now Dire Wolves have the man advantage.
Finally overwhelming the setup there, leaves these numbers a lot more palatable to play out the remaining bits of the round, but as you're going to see, they have no access to this wall they want to breach open here. Still Mute Jammer sitting on the other side. Nitro out, and it can do big damage, but surprisingly, not a whole lot going out against our attackers here. They're able to dodge the large majority of it, but it still might have taken out the Exo. That's what's important out of this one. Harambe, no additional ones to utilize here, so they're going to have to go directly in through the connector now and force their way into the site. Flash connections are good. Forces Foxy away from his position here. Top-down shots are coming back in, though, and they're starting to hurt this assault as they see them working their way forward. Foxy rolls in on the flank, takes care of nearly every single member except for the top-down player. Souffle trying to clutch it, but Foxy's ready for one more pickup here as yet another round is claimed by the OXG roster.
Pretty sick hold there for Foxy. This will lock it down with the M590. Direwolves trying to force things through split, but it's ill-advised. After Oxygen get those initial picks and give Direwolves a minimal amount of time to get things done, they simply cannot get the yellow wall open, which allows Foxy to play like a maniac over here near Furnace. There's no way to really shut him down unless somebody's occupying the verticality, but obviously that wasn't there either. Direwolves now down 3 rounds, and just to remind all of you at home, Direwolves must win this in regulation in order to make it to the playoff stage. It's going to be a tactical timeout now for Direwolves to see if their coach can potentially assist them in picking up another round on this offense before we switch sides.
Can only strategize, as you said, for this one final round in terms of this happen. They can think broader scope and notice things that Oxygen are definitely going to deploy towards on their attacking side too, and try to correct those issues to make sure they're not going to struggle with them once we get to round 7 and onward. Like Stokes mentioned, Direwolves are kind of against the wall right now, already 3 rounds down. Very strong possibility, unless this pause yields results, that we end up with a 5-1 at the half here, as OXG has just been shutting down the past 3 to 4 rounds here ever since we resumed play back on round number 3. So things are looking bleak, I would say, for the APAC squad at this point. And they're going to need a big increase in strength here to bring them back from the brink. Otherwise, we could be looking, unfortunately, at their elimination being confirmed relatively soon.
Yes, indeed. And with that being said, an opportunity arises for them to rise from the ashes of these previous rounds and try and take this one out from under Oxygen. Direwolves won at the current moment. They're going to be bringing the Monty back in for Jackie Wu. Be applying some of these laser gates around for Oxygen's sake over towards Cafeteria. It'll force them to clear out that gate and give some audio cues over towards Oxygen if they are going to be playing around the top of yellow to make things a little bit easier for them given that circumstance. As for Oxygen's remaining members, let's be setting some tidbits up around the map. Beacon also for Direwolves will confirm Thatcher on that end, so hopefully that can assist them in getting some of these walls open as they have the Selmas of Ace along for the ride.
Oxygen continue to maintain a pretty serious advantage here. Nurse is going to go for that run out over towards Cash Door yet again. Actually varies a bit as he tried to hop out the window previously. Just does a bit differently this time. Unfortunately for him, no one on the rappel this time around, or what would have been there is around the corner, as you can see for ED. Jackie Wu only just now heading up onto the Dragon balcony himself, so we'll continue to maintain that positioning as well. But Norris, as well as the other aggressor from Oxygen, are long gone. Actually, never mind, I'll correct myself. They have since fallen back, but Foxy has stuck around here. A bit dodgy inside of that initial duel, but he knows Jackie Wu is going to have a second or two where he can't bring his gun out. Tries to go for the repeat there. He corrects that fight in terms of the damage distribution between himself and Jackie, but still ends up on the losing end of it. As you can see on the bottom of your screen, there were just a sliver of HP left.
Good news, though, is given the position, if they do end up mismanaging this, I'm just going to stop myself there because he's going to end up leaving as soon as that drone comes in. Probably a better idea for Foxy. I'd assume that they do drone that out correctly, and also if the Monty walks in there, he's just dead to rights at the end of the day anyway. Have a mute jam around the area. Monty will eventually get rid of it, and now Direwolves are allowed to proceed. Still have to worry about a lot of this setup here from Oxygen as they had extended themselves out towards the office and did what they did last time. Hop back through the reinforcement, or rather the hole for yellow that they have at the top of the stairwell, reinforce that panel, and now Oxygen have a nice little setup for themselves over on site. Laxian's going to be ratting out over inside of maintenance. Foxy downstairs, and I believe, if I know my angles, Armory. He's going to Nitro Cell ED here, and it's going to deal quite a bit of damage. Laxian, I do believe, hasn't been droned out yet. I know that there's a drone from Direwolves inside of the Dragon statue area, so he could get droned out once he actually moves out of that area. Foxy trying to abuse this verticality as of right now to see if he can potentially claim ED, who's on exactly the same amount of health practically as Foxy.
Continuing to wait for a vertical to make a play opportunity here. But it seems as though Laxing is going to start things out a little bit better. Only able to translate a 1-for-1, but that's still going to cause some delay for the Direwolves, which us already being at this late point in the round is really enough here. Vertical to make sure he doesn't get baited by this fan. This is actually going to be a little tricky here, as that looks a lot like a head wrapping out there, but he should be able to get used to it. More importantly, keep an eye on things. But the problem is he's also going to be revealed by this drone, so really cannot maintain the position any further. Other good news, though, is they do spot this flank coming back in, and it's been fended off, too, as Oxygen have all this additional presence upstairs. So Jackie would not going to be able to advance directly into the site just yet. At the same time, he will lose his support sitting further back over by the main stairs. Dream fending off yet another member of this team. Jackie just trying to jump directly in and fight Nurs, but he's ready for that. Headshots him out while he's halfway through the window. Vert with one more as he'll get exchanged too, but Pecan, left alone in the 1v3, cannot maintain the on-site presence. He's surrounded by everyone from Oxygen, so they pick up and confirm the 5-1 scoreline as we reach our halftime marker.
Oh, this is not looking good for Direwolves. Not only were they not able to procure that, but they've already used their tactical timeout, which means that their coach can no longer have any influence over this game. Oxygen will be switching things up and going to the offensive side now, and obviously that means Direwolves is now on defense. Initiation office is going to be their first site, and really nothing to really call back on for the Direwolves that was overall successful past that first round that they were able to proclaim. For Oxygen, it was just utter dominance time and time again, whether it be via their openers or being able to delay and deal with Direwolves in other manners. But as of now, it's Direwolves' job to set up this site and see what they can potentially get done inside of initiation.
Will be the site of play. Lots of mitigation being brought to bear here between both Rooney as well as Iwamai being brought in from Souffle here too. He also wanting to bring the Banshees to bear, but ends up switching over to a little bit more of a comfortable pick. We've been seeing him drift towards the Alibi, and her clones will be inside of this game instead to play. Aside from that, though, fairly expected lineup of operators to keep yourself fairly mobile across this map, as you do need to play into that roam game quite heavily. This is not a map you can rely on your site play to really win out most of these sites, with the one exception, of course, really being throne room. And even then, you still want to extend out to try and waste the time bank down a bit.
Yeah, you really, really do. If you turtle up on Armory Throne, more than likely they just take the top floor, pop yellow wall, and then you're just taking elongated fights with ARs that deal way more damage than your guns do on defense. So you have to hit your headshots, otherwise you lose the gunfight. That's just how it goes nowadays with how strong and potent these LMGs are. Peeking though, out here towards Dragon, they are more than likely going to know of this location, as this is a very common space to be playing early on here on Throne. But it's also good for Peeking because he can just hop over the balcony at any given moment. He's also got the support of ED around the area, as he'll be playing the half wall for Cash.
So 45 seconds have gone by, but things remain relatively quiet across the map here. The expression of ED just denying some presence over by Dragon Balcony. Pecan trying to do the same thing, and oh, he grabs a vertical on his swing in, but he's not going to be able to confirm it, unfortunately. Adrenal Surge comes out from Nurs. That's going to revive Vert, but obviously at very low HP, he's losing a lot of the benefits now that Montaigne would generally bring, as he can't really take those chip shots anymore to bring his HP lower. So they're potentially going to kill him if he sticks around for too long here. Oxygen able to work their way in regardless, though they do take Dragon control, but there's a lot more work to do, including clearing out Harambe, still sitting down below here in the hallway between drums and maintenance.
Nitrocell out will not claim anyone on Oxygen's side upstairs. Vertical now doing his best to try and hold things down in initiation. I believe somebody caught him from underneath. They did. It's Harambe launching shots from the shotgun. Able to tag him up just a little bit, but fortunately enough, they think a boosted yet again. He had a little bit of extra HP, and it was just enough to keep him alive. Oxygen have Vertical on practical life support at the moment, but it's simply working for them. They know that Harambe's still down low. It looks like they're seemingly wanting to clear this out. A lot of drones already down. In fact, only 3 remaining for Oxygen at the current moment as we go down to the last minute.
Harambe continuing to wait things out here for the swing to come in. A bit of an awkward dance, obviously, against Vertical due to the low HP that he already has. All of the adrenal surges have been used, but the bait is perfect. Vertical sends Harambe swinging the other way, right into the waiting arms of Foxe, who knocks him out and gives them finally their first kill in this round, but happening quite late at about the 50-second marker. Means that there's a lot more pushes still to be made here, and Vertical is going to try to force his way in. The impact, though, sends him down to his grave, and ED on top of that will be able to leverage another kill in the favor for the Direwolves. Nurs will trade that back, keeps the numbers even at a 3v3 as ED desperately hunts for the next push. He finds it, but he also finds a bullet into his skull. Nurs takes him down. Oxygen take the player advantage, but now the time starting to shift heftily into the Direwolves' favor. This lurk coming back in here from Pecan to try and shut down the push from Oxygen. It will not work out. He'll miss pretty much every shot he throws. Souffle trying to pull off the same thing, but he can't lock down any of these players. Gets one, but he's lost his other teammate, and Dream follows it through to take down the last remaining member. What one more round is all that separates Oxygen from a flawless run here in the groups.
Oxygen 6-1 over Dire Wolves. These kiddie pool games aren't going to work up against them. Simply holding things down in maintenance will not stop Oxygen. Fantastic round from them, especially being able to keep Vert alive as long as they did. There were so many things that he had to be worried about, especially with how much damage was dealt to him so early on. So to have him die eventually at 36 seconds remaining, I mean, that alone was a feat. But Oxygen still able to take it to Dire Wolves inside of the 3 versus 3, and specifically Newers with some amazing entry capability on that round. And that's what we expect from him on this squad.
Dire Wolves potentially hoping that they might have had a bit of an easier time in this matchup given the circumstances for Oxygen's playoff contentions, but that was not the case. Oxygen came to play. They came to shut this game down, especially after our technical pause. They really took over things and have not dropped a singular round since then. The Dire Wolves now sit facing potential elimination here, unfortunately. And I think at this point it's just locked in now that they've got themselves up to 6 rounds too. That's the unfortunate part for the Dire Wolves. Even if we see them come back into OT and win that game, they would still only end up tying with Team 1's scoreline, and on top of that, the round differential is more than likely going to be too much of a difference here, as at most, Dire Wolves would now be winning by 2. So more than likely, with Oxygen getting that 6th round on the board, that should confirm Team 1's position in the playoffs.
Well, Oxygen, I believe actually, they've already secured it.
Yep,
Indeed.
that's what I was just saying.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
Apologies about that. I was checking on some notes initially here. But yes, indeed, Oxygen have done it. Dire Wolves, they can no longer make playoffs.
Out,
there is no chance that they are capable of doing any of this, unfortunately enough for them. Makeshift last round was the previous one. So Oxygen now just seemingly want to get this match over with. Team 1, congratulations. You did enough to make it to the playoff stage, and unfortunately enough for our APAC representatives, we will not have them around for much longer. But it has been an absolute pleasure getting to see Dire Wolves play at this LAN event. It's been so cool to have a team from Taiwan here and being able to experience what that's like inside of the Siege community. And honestly, it's been just such an amazing show. Some fantastic players, and hopefully we get them back soon.
Yeah, obviously only a short run here due to the circumstances surrounding Elevate 2, so less games inside of this group. So 4 matches we've seen Dire Wolves play over the past few days, but already a gargantuan improvement in today's games more than anything. Their matchup specifically
Double
versus the
nade,
Latin
Fox?
American team was excellent. Trying to make a parting point here about the Dire Wolves, but Fox just trying to usher us along here. 2 nade kills from him, but Jackie Wu wants to stick around for a little bit longer as he finally trades back the opening frag against Foxy.
Well, Vertical trying to get something done, but Pekin, oh my god! He slams Dream! Dire Wolves, I wish we could have got more of this last round, but unfortunately enough, well, Oxygen still have a chance to shut this down. Dire Wolves, yet again, not going to mean too much, even if they do win the round, but as of right now, Oxygen can shut it down in a 7-1 fashion, whereas it was a 7-2 the day prior. Laxing can start lurking. The drone out, tries to reset the gate. I don't know if he got it there. It was a quick fire. It's going to be a cross on Cafe. 45 seconds remaining. No drones, all except for what Laxing is capable of mustering at the current moment, as he has 2 on the field, but they're more than likely watching some flanks. And they're stun out to burn up that laser gate, and a swing from Pekin from sight. It's a triple kill for him. It's now down to Newers. Can he do it in the clutch?
Newers continuing to try and see if he can end the game now. Obviously, Oxygen, very minimal pressure on them to clutch out this round. They've got 4 more opportunities if they lose this one out. But still, Newers wants to try and give his team as good of a round difference as possible. It seems like Oxygen are really going for the achievement here inside of groups. Nice shot to start things off as he manages to shut down Pecan. Not going to be giving Dire Wolves anything here, but time is running out. Newers running out of opportunities to close this one down. He has case control, but realistically, once he puts that down on the ground, he is pretty much dead. As you can see, he is surrounded here. No capability to get out of. He's not even going to try it. Time runs out, and the Dire Wolves hold on for just a bit longer, despite the circumstances.
I can tell you this, though. Watching Newers play this game anytime is one of the most terrifying things for the opponent. He's just so snappy. Even just not even trying to kill anyone, just moving around the map, he has some of the snappiest gameplay I've ever seen out of any Rainbow Six player in my entire life. I've been playing this game since beta. It's actually just so impressive. But now Dire Wolves have been able to secure their 2nd round, and unfortunately enough for Newers, he won't have another one for his highlight reel, although it has been a highlight tournament for him. him in this game. Really another feather in his cap as he is at a 9-1 scoreline. His only death, not even in that last round, as he simply lost on time.
We're going to see a Thorn actually getting swapped in during the pick phase there for ED, which is an interesting choice. Thorn, an operator we've been seeing teams kind of flirt with over the past few months here. They're throwing it in every now and again. Very much, from my observations at least, falling into the same category as operators kind of like Capcan, where you throw the utility down. You're not going to expect it necessarily to make a huge difference, but in a fairly quick scenario where the attackers may be panicking and not checking for things like that, that's where you can potentially have that utility find some serious effectiveness. Much like the EDDs from Capcan there. Teams is not even time to check the sides and doorways. They walk into it, boom, that's an extra player going down just because of some smart utility placement.
Oh, absolutely. Makes a lot more sense. Thank you, John. I really do appreciate that. So for Pika now, looking for the initial peek here. Nitro Cell in pocket. Could potentially throw that if anybody tries to repel. A pretty commonplace strat here for Cash Stash. Nice swing, and Vertical's actually going to be able to make it up top. Unfortunately enough for Pekin, has a very low mag capacity inside of that Roni nowadays, so just not enough bullets in the tank to be able to take out Vert.
Continue to see Oxygen with their pressure forward throughout the map here, especially now that they've seen the more aggressive peaks from Peakon, and I'm going to be expecting a few more of those. So Heroes will be a bit cautious as he ventures forward, trying to take his own control. As he does so, ready to now fend off against this setup on the inside of the dorms. A nice shot there from ED. Is able to sneak off a bullet or two onto yours, bringing him down a bit lower too. So Oxygen being something, unfortunately, in the opening moments of this round, and it's actually going to call for a complete fallback from Cafe. They don't really feel that's the right way to approach this. Foxy, regardless, going to get tripped up elsewhere on the map, though, by Harambe, giving Direwolves the first kill of the round.
ED has the potential to grab another Oxygen body. Oh, very close there. That reaction time would have been insane if he was able to get it. Vertical tries to hop in the window, and he's going to go down, but Newers will pick up one Laxing, then traded out by Pekin. Newers now still inside a Cafe, has this LMG, and he's going to let it rock. Let it sing, but it's not going to find too much just yet. Dream now has to get something done. He'll get Jackie Wu. He's going to make this a lot more palatable, especially with Newers now hopping in the window of Arcade with him. He'll be able to propel Oxygen forward as they know ED's around this space, trying to hold things down inside of Daycare. Has the potential to take out yet another member, and he will. The CZ won't get it done. Newers can actually pick himself up off of the cooldown. Might have a swing here, and the Thermite will be able to body him. Another swing from ED, though, will finally be able to take things down, or rather, another member from Direwolves. But either way, Direwolves claim the round and stave off Oxygen's dub just for an extended period of time.
Direwolves faring that much better here inside of the defensive side, looking to try and make as much of an impact as possible before the eventual outcome of this matchup does befall upon them. Once again, they will have to contend with their potential elimination here. As for Team 1, though, they're probably getting amped up back in Mexico City. They know that they are through now, so obviously you're going to be feeling fairly ecstatic about that, and getting themselves ready to play against Oxygen and our other contenders from the other groups that have already confirmed their positions, along with the ones that will be doing so a little bit later on today.
Yeah, well, checking in on that. Dash on Twitter basically just said, hey, we're really happy about this, but I really don't think that we deserve it. We kind of need to go back and figure out some strategies for the playoff stage and see what we can potentially do. And honestly, I got to agree with him. I think Dash especially has been playing extremely well for Team 1. And you can say that about a lot of different players. Dots is another one that comes to mind when you mention Team 1 for myself personally. But past that, I mean, their game up against Direwolves, it was just really, really hard fought on both ends. I definitely think that Team 1 had the potential to win the game, but Direwolves, I mean, they're fighting from a downward position. I mean, it was do or die for them here today. I mean, you could say the same thing for Team 1, but Direwolves were even in a worse position. They had 0 points coming into today, and, you know, when your back's against the wall and your fight or flight is engaged, especially in a competitive environment, you've got to fight.
Kind of gave themselves a lot of hope there for ultimately nothing at the end of the day, which does have to suck a little bit, but still, props for trying their hardest. They're not kind of giving up heading into today here, keeping a good head on their shoulders, and to be fair, nearly getting it done. As we saw, took down the opponent they actually really needed to beat, which was the one in front of them, just failing to do so here against Oxygen because they have looked so promising inside of this group stage here. Like we said, still on the cusp of a perfect group. 4 regulation wins, obviously an asterisk on that they played 2 less games than teams in other groups, but still 4 perfect games, all won in regulation. Fox is going to try to change up the fate inside of this round. However, they'll lose their initial player, but quickly correct That nearly gets himself traded, though, as ED tries to catch him with the SMG-11 from the Dragon Stairs. Won't be the case, though. ED's still going to be able to maintain presence, and Jackie Wu will now jump into it as he finds Newers elsewhere on the map.
The game plays fast and furious, and the Nitro Cell will get rid of the drone on the windowsill for ED as they'll back off towards other pastures. Jackie Wu trying to see if anyone's holding the break window, but nobody home at the current moment. Minute 38 seconds remain for Oxygen to try and claim this round and finally slow down the reclamation of Dire Wolves into this game. Although, once again, for some of you that more than likely just joined back, Dire Wolves' hopes for making playoff stage here are dusted. Oxygen made it to overtime point. That means Dire Wolves only have the capability to gather 2 points at the end of the day, whereas Team 1 already have 4 points and have a better round diff against Dire Wolves.
Already a tense scenario here for the Dire Wolves, and it's going to continue to grow on them as this round gets deeper and deeper on its timer. Souffle, the moment being hunted down, I believe, by Foxay, potentially playing around with the Dragon door over there. Vertical still waiting for his own chance to make impact as he's taken lab control, but hasn't really found any roaming presence from Dire Wolves. You guys probably saw that silhouette. There is one player hanging out in barrels right now that he could potentially catch later, but hasn't been able to physically see them just yet here. So still waiting for that opportunity to come to bear. Jackie Wu has now been spotted out, though, as he creeps out from that barrel position here. Igniting vertical and making him go for this potential play. And actually, no, he's going to bypass it, go right for the connector play. Instead, he's missed this one on the other side, though. He's more than likely seen it by this point, but no! Walks right in. The trade is there, not from the other side of connector, but from Throne instead. Harambe holds back the tide and stops the remaining members of Oxygen from flooding into the site now. Laxing will falter due to Jackie Wu's position over by barrels. Foxy will find one more exchange as he tries to force himself in through Dragon, but now he's got to contend with the rotate from Jackie as well as Harambe in the site, and it will just be too much to bear. One more round goes up on the board, and the Dire Wolves stay in this fight.
Believe it is a 6-5 scorer line now, and it's going to be an Oxygen timeout as these offensives have just not came together on this side. The initial one was there, but past that, it just hasn't came to fruition. So hopefully Redeemer can assist them and being able to get this one away from Dire Wolves. So Bunk Daycare will be their pick here. Well, we'll have to see what they can potentially do. Obviously, the coaches will have something to say about that. Just talked about Redeemer there for a bit, but obviously, like the Oxygen offenses have just been pretty lackluster. They're just kind of playing pretty loose right now and not really trying to get too much done across the map. It's really been just throwing it at the wall and hoping that it sticks, and that's what Dire Wolves are about. They're about that action, and they've been showing that time and time again on this defensive side.
Yep, absolutely the case. So OXG noticing some problems here. They are going to take a time, and again, you guys might be wondering, like, why are they bothering to? Like, this game is like kind of a throwaway for them at the end of the day. They don't really need to play into it. Still good practice at the end of the day for the rest of the playoffs here, especially considering that this opponent is, they're not going to have to contend with them later on in the tournament now. They can use this, as I was saying before, kind of as a bit of a scrim here to look into issues that maybe they were having previously, try some things out that maybe they've been flirting with throwing out into the playoffs here. Obviously, again, they're not going to want to straight up show anything here, but still some changes to be made and some encouragement to be brought as they try to bring this game home here and now try to preserve what would be their flawless run inside of the group stage. If we see 1 or 2 more rounds being picked up from the Dire Wolves, that is going to first force Oxygen into their first OT of the tournament.
Yes, indeed. And for Dire Wolves at the moment, it's in fact a 4-6 scoreline, not a 5-6 scoreline. So Oxygen calling the timeout at an even better time slot than I initially had thought. ED will make a little bit of a cheeky change for the defense. Alibi into Alibi, to be expected, obviously. But past that, Oxygen, though, will be sticking to their guns, all except for the Nook pick that was initially there for Vertical. He's going to switch back to an LMG. He'll be bringing Finka with her Adrenal Surges yet again. Those picked operators here at Charlotte, but again, that is to be expected as well. Finally, though, Oxygen will be back out and about after their tactical time out. We'll see what they can potentially muster against this Dire Wolves defense.
Not to be seen just yet here, as it's all going to be build up for this first 30 to 40 seconds or so. Oxygen still looking to work their way in from the east side of the map, it appears. So Dragon side, for those of you who go through Cardinals. Away from that, we'll see a few of them work their way up to Dragon Balcony first. Entry from there and begin the descent into the rest of the map. No direct contention coming out this time from Dire Wolves. We're seeing them flirt with that earlier on inside of the half here, playing directly against that first entry, whether it was Cash Doorway or Dragon Window there. They would fare pretty much directly against that play. And Pecan, to some extent, does it again here, rushing himself to the midpoint on Dragon Stairs. But he's got the wrong read on where the entry point is. They are playing for Cash, not necessarily the window, so that Nitro will yield minimal results.
right across the board as of right now. Both of these teams, Oxygen finally being able to get in the top of Dragon. Newers looking for what could potentially be at the end of Waiting Hall. But inevitably has to make his move here as well. Has plenty of time to be able to hold these down. Dire Wolves are going to play patiently, though. No overswing just yet, but finally some damage coming on to Jackie Will as well as Foxy, but Foxy more on the receiving end than not. Frag grenade out. Won't be able to claim anything just yet, as I do believe it gets eaten up. Another one out as well. A pre-fire from Jackie Wu through the soft wall as he gets stunned out. He'll prone in behind, but no forward motion from the Oxygen members. They're still sticking to their guns here inside of security as well as the top of Dragon. So, with that being said, the rest of the Oxygen unit has to be around somewhere, and in fact they are. There's Newers finally. He's going to pop his head out and take down ED. Jackie looking for someone behind the control panel here, but not able to find it. Drone in, and they'll be able to know that Jackie's still in the area here for initiation as he bounces back and forth between waiting as well as the control door. Jackie unable to move any longer as this EE1D will lock him down. Vertical will finally get the kill as Vertical and the rest of Oxygen finally able to propel themselves forward.
Here's continuing to end this matchup here as he pushes the Direwolves down just to Souffle and Pecan. Now Pecan are the only ones remaining, and it doesn't stay that way for very long. It's a flawless round to end a flawless run in the group stage for OXG as they take the top of their group 4-0. Not a single game going to overtime, and their worst scoreline being this one here, 7-4 versus the Direwolves. Same one being pulled off against another squad. Big congratulations to Oxygen. What a group stage played by these guys. And we'll be seeing them take the top seed heading into the playoffs.
And with that being said, folks, we're going to throw to a quick break, and we'll be back to break down this match.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Charlotte Major, where it is time to say goodbye. Unfortunately, the Dire Wolves, excuse me, I always get confused. We got two of those Wolves here in the tournament right now. Just want to make sure we're being clear. The Dire Wolves have been confirmed eliminated. Although they tie on points with Team 1, the round differential is a massive difference between both of those squads. So at the end of it, so much promise, too, coming into it, especially after the matchup versus Team 1, where they were able to take down their opponent that was challenging them for a spot in the playoffs, but unable to take down the Kings on top of the group in Oxygen, who, like I said, have confirmed a flawless run. Again, with a little bit of a star on that, considering they played 2 less games than every other team, but still a perfect run here in their group.
Yeah, it looks solid for Dire Wolves, starting off the day getting an 8-7 dub over Team 1 and making it to where this Oxygen matchup was actually going to be a competitive affair, meaning they could have potentially made it to the playoff stage like you were talking about. It was honestly looking pretty good with the initial, offenses when we trade back and forth and we have that extended pause. We come back and Oxygen just utter dominance on their defensive side before we we switch things up, and Direwolves start wearing their own defensive hat and really taking it to OXG. And this is what you're going to see at this portion of the playback here. And Direwolves eventually able to make it up to 4 rounds, but Auction had already secured their 6, so there was no way that Direwolves was going to be able to make it to the playoff stage after that. Very unfortunate circumstances for them, but given the fact that they had 0 points coming into today, I'd say that they gave it a really, really good shot.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And again, there was so much promise building it all. I'm curious to see how this game would have gone if the sides were flipped at the beginning of it and we saw the Direwolves get off to a defensive start, because obviously, as Stokes is mentioning, things look much more promising for the team on that side. So I would have been curious to see the results. Just seems like the attacking side of Clean Park here was just a little bit too much for them to handle, especially with how strong those individual members on Auction are being. Once again, yours being the standout to that. But you've got guys like Laxing as well as Fox that are just so hard to track down on a moment-to-moment basis. We had multiple rounds like where Laxing was able to hide in the corner of billiards or something like that, and then just catch a member of the opposing team with their pants down. So it seemed like a rough start there, and I'm curious to see how this would have gone if things started the other direction, where the team had a bit more confidence to play into their own strategy.
Yeah, it could have been a completely different game given the circumstances, but it's already history, folks. Direwolves are not going to have a chance to make it to the playoff stage. It's extremely unfortunate for them, one of our APAC representatives, but you have to be happy for Team 1 as well as Oxygen. Such an incredible day for them, and it's been an incredible couple of days, you could say, for OXG. And, well, with that being said, John, that's going to do it for us, folks. We're going to throw you guys on over to B Stream for that matchup, so you got some Siege action to watch. We'll see you later.